Earth, man. What a hole.
Hey everybody, Ketwolski here, checking in with another one of our hashtag Star Trek discussions videos. Today we're going to be talking about another great what if question, and the question that we're going to be asking today is, what if the Earth was destroyed? The heartbeat, the brainchild, the whatever you guys want to call it, of the United Federation of Planets. What would happen if the Earth was destroyed? So we're going to go ahead and destroy the Earth and explore what would happen to the Star Trek universe in the event that this would occur. So I do want to go ahead and say that because there's a big discussion between what is alpha and beta canons, I'm going to start this video off from a political standpoint of what would happen just shy of the ending of Star Trek Nemesis, probably maybe 5 or so years after the end of Star Trek Nemesis, because most people consider that to be alpha canon. So that's where we're going to start this particular discussion off. So essentially what I'm going to do is erase any novels that took place after that, and essentially all of Star Trek Online's storylines. Okay, so what we've seen in the past is that Federation captains are pretty good at defending Earth from external alien threats, whether that be the Borg, the Breen, the Dominion, really anybody that's trying to attack Earth, including this weird cigar thing with the stupid whale fetish. You know, they're pretty good at defending Earth from all manners of threats external to Earth. So with that in mind, I don't think that the destruction of Earth would occur externally. However, I do feel as though the destruction of Earth would occur internally, most likely due to a accident. I would say that the Sector 001 is pretty secure, pretty safe from external threats, like I just said, but I think it's very plausible to sit here and say, well, maybe some crazy scientist was working on something and he accidentally destroyed the core of the planet and it was exploded on the inside. That's what we're going to say here. So we're going to operate that everything is hunky-dory, everything's all good in the universe, and then all of a sudden, boom, the Earth is destroyed along with the moon, the Earth space dock, and a lot of the space station / shipyards that are surrounding Earth, and all the ships that are surrounding Earth are all destroyed during this ensuing explosion. Okay, so essentially what's going to happen, I think, first is that all the remaining leadership of the Federation, the senior leadership of the Federation, is going to gather into a central location to discuss the future of the Federation, most likely to not only decide where there's going to be a new president election, or also decide where the new homeworld of the Federation is going to be held, and how to secure all of the Federation borders from any external threats. I don't think that there's going to be too many of the Federation Council members left, because most of them are on Earth. A lot of the external ambassadors are on Earth, so I feel like there's probably going to be a few council members that maybe are around, but it's going to be mostly senior-ranking fleet admirals and also diplomats, high-ranking Federation diplomats that will meet at a centralized location and then decide what to do with the Federation's resources and how to move forward. But the big question is, where exactly are they going to meet? Now, in my mind, they would have two options, really, either Andoria or Vulcan. Both of them are pretty close to Sector 001. Both are founding members of the Federation, along with the Tellarites, but nobody wants to go to that weird pig-faced planet. So I think that they're going to be going to either Andoria or Vulcan. Now, the choice may seem a little bit difficult, but, I mean, let's just be honest. Nobody's got time to be hanging out in Andoria. That place is fucking cold. So let's just be real. Everyone's going to go to Vulcan, and everyone's going to meet up there. So during this time, while all the ambassadors and all of senior fleet members are going to be heading towards Vulcan to meet up and try to figure out what to do, word is going to spread throughout the quadrant of what occurred. Now, this is going to lead to a lot of different events. It's going to lead to, number one, obviously, a destabilization overall in the central command of the Federation. The Romulan Star Empire is going to start salivating at the mouth, and any other potential threats to include Prime. I think that the Ferengi and really just any criminal organization that thrives on the lack of law and order inside of the quadrant is going to just expand and flourish and seize control of the opportunity here. But I also think that any kind of supply chains, any kind of colony, any kind of relief effort that was being founded and funded and provided for by the Federation is also going to experience a loss and a huge drop-off, in my opinion. And that includes, in this case, Cardassia, which has been relying heavily on Federation resources to help rebuild their world. So who knows what kind of issues that's going to cause, not only for that particular sector, the Bajor sector, but also all around the quadrants, both Alpha and Beta. Who knows what other issues that the Federation was holding together. So I think that a lot of these relief efforts, then the law enforcement efforts, are going to fall apart. And then I do think that because of the lack of the chain of command, I think that some of the border patrol and border securement programs are going to also begin to fall apart during this transitional period. But I do believe that eventually, within probably not too long of a period of time, I think that a good amount of representatives from the Federation, like I said, senior diplomats, fleet admirals, and either probably more reps from the 150 plus member worlds that are attached to the Federation, I think that they're going to get together and then decide, okay, where do we want to put the homeworld, and do we want to go ahead and do an election? I do think that they're going to go ahead and go against an election for right now and probably just maintain a large council and kind of a democratic styled approach to making sure that decisions are made until that things stabilize. So I don't think they're going to hold an election, but I do think that they are going to look to put the Federation homeworld on a non-human controlled world. I think that humanity would be reeling from the loss of Earth and all of those humans, so I don't think that they're going to be the strongest hand to try to push forward and say, hey, why not put it on this human colony or this human colony, or put it on Mars, or put it on Jupiter or Titan or whatever. So I think that they're going to lose their foothold, and I do think other alien races are going to attempt to get and bid for their planet to be the new Federation homeworld. And this is, of course, going to include the Klingons. Now, I do think the Klingons are, of course, going to take the opportunity to try to get the homeworld installed on Kronos. Now, any normal smart person would know installing the Federation capital on Kronos is going to lead to a disaster. Number one, Klingons aren't very diplomatic. They don't necessarily stand with all of the ideals of the Federation. They were at war with the Federation for a long period of time, so I don't think that anyone's going to really vote for that. I do unfortunately think that the Klingons are aware of this fact, and they're going to use that to a prelude to go ahead and sit there and say, well, if you're not going to put the Federation homeworld on Kronos, well, then we're out of the Federation. And I actually do think the Klingons are going to leave the Federation. They're going to view it as a weak organization, one that does not want to honor strength, which is their strength, and move the Federation homeworld to Kronos, and I think that they're going to back out of the Federation at this point. After the Klingon Empire backs out of the Federation, they're going to go ahead and declare war on the surrounding sectors and begin to seize control of previously held planets, land masses, mines, and other resources. But they're not going to be only ones that are actually taking advantage of the situation. Now that the Klingon Empire has detached themselves from the Federation, and word has gotten around that there's dissent among the unified planets, the Romulan Star Empire, the fractured Romulan Star Empire, the one that, just post Star Trek Nemesis, like I said, is going to also begin to expand to try to reclaim some territory of their own, and also gain additional territories to help strengthen their weakening empire. So I do think in the end that the Federation Council is going to vote to put the planet that's going to be, the new Federation homeworld on Bolaris 9, the home of the Bolians. And I do think this because of the fact that they have the Bank of Bolian, and I think that because of the resources, the huge amount of resources that the Bolians have in terms of currency that, the Federation, Starfleet, Earth may not use, but a lot of the other worlds surrounding the Alphas and Beta Quadrants still use a lot of different kinds of currencies. So because they need money and currency to help rebuild their armada, rebuild their space stations, and rebuild their foothold and their strongholds inside of Sector 001 and throughout the sector, I think that they're going to rely heavily on the Bolians' funds in order to accomplish that task. So I think that's most likely what's going to happen. The Bolians are going to get the Federation homeworld, and again, like I said, they're not going to have a presidential election. I think the council is just going to simply move there and establish a capital on Bolaris, or Bolaris 9. It should also be noted that without a centralized command during this time, most sector fleet admirals are going to go ahead and take control of all Federation assets in their local areas. And this is to not only ensure law and order and peace, but to also try to beat back marauders, bandits, and this now essentially this giant Klingon / Romulan threat that's invading all the border sectors between Federation and Klingon Romulan spaces. So in an effort to try to continue up their efforts, I think that fleet admirals will essentially take direct control of their regions to try to prevent any severe destabilization until the chain of command can be reestablished, and senior fleet admirals can be promoted into the Admiralty, and then a whole new chain of command can be established. So I think that during this time period where the Bolian capital is being set up for the new Federation, they're going to start pumping money into the local economies and start getting out additional ships. I think at this point also that the Federation senior fleet admirals, the Admiralty, is going to band together and immediately restructure after maybe several weeks of maybe disbandment and kind of disarray. I think they're going to begin to restructure and direct their Federation fleets and armadas and ground forces to help repel the Romulan and Klingon threats. Now, during this time, I do believe that the Romulans and Klingons wouldn't engage in exactly a peace treaty, but possibly a ceasefire, nose fire kind of mentality where, you know, you invade your worlds and sectors, I'll invade my worlds and sectors, and we'll just leave each other alone and, you know, just destroy anything Federation-wise. I do think that once the sector fleet admirals are regained control of all their assets in the area, and they're able to reestablish control and command and control with all the local Federation stuff, but also the stuff that's also in the different quadrants, I think that this reunified Federation armada will begin to push back and essentially enter into a stalemate between the weakened Romulan forces and the aggressive but often not very tactical Klingon forces. I think once that arrives and this stalemate kind of happens and you know, we kind of draw a line in the sand, I think that we as the Federation draw a line in the sand. I think that the Klingons will then realize the error of their ways, and, you know, they got their fill, they got their thirst for blood satisfied. I think that they're going to then just simply just say, well, sorry, our bad, you know, can you let us back into the Federation, you know, we'll stop invading planets and stuff like that. I think that the Federation at that point will most likely wants to so badly to have the Klingons back in so they can end the conflict and utilize their Klingon defense force to help crush the Romulans and end the conflict and get everything all settled. I think that they'll just accept it and most likely also allow whatever territories that the Klingons had captured during their kind of rogue month or two. I think that they're just going to let the Klingons keep that and just, you know, forget it, let bygones be bygones, and let the Klingons back inside of the fold and a part of the Federation once more. Once that happens, I do think that a massive combined fleet of Starfleet ships mixed with Klingon Defense Force ships will simply easily to push back the Romulan Star Empire all the way back to their original territory, and I think the Romulans are going to lose everything that they've gained and then some. I think it's going to completely destroy most of their remaining armada and destabilize the majority of the Tal Shiar and the Romulan Navy. So during this time, though, you know, I think that it's going to be several months, possibly 6 months to a year, that it takes for the Federation to kind of establish itself on Valeris 9, the ceasefire between the Federations and the Klingons to be solidified and put into place, and then a combined unified KDF Starfleet alliance to push back the Romulans. I think once all that's done, you're talking about probably 6 months to a year. During this time, I do think that the Ferengi Alliance, along with other criminal underground organizations, are going to expand their sphere of influence, possibly double or triple in size because of the lack of law enforcement and other judiciary bodies being in place. So I think that they're going to become such a powerful force that the Federation is actually going to be unable to simply dislodge them and order them to go back underground and to cease and desist all activities. So I think instead what's going to happen is the Federation is going to have a paradigm shift away from its normal morals and values and transition into something that's a bit more corrupt and a little bit more in line with kind of playing dirty with underground organizations and seedy organizations, and even dub the Ferengi Alliance as a potential major trading partner, just to make it appear as though that the Federation, to legitimize the Ferengi Alliance, and that the Federation allows them to exist and that they don't have a weakened state of power, even though behind the scenes that is in fact the case. So after being defeated by the rechristened Federation and also the, you know, KDF Alliance fleet, I do think that because of the huge insurmountable losses that the Romulans faced during that massive incursion, that they are going to splinter and actually engage in a Romulan civil war. And I think that a lot of refugees are going to begin to pour into the Beta Quadrant sectors, and then also into the Federation space. The Federation is going to be ill-equipped, I think, to handle majority of these, not only the conflict, but also these refugees. However, I do think that the Klingons during this time will seize the opportunity to go ahead and start to gain more territory inside of the now disbanded and essentially destroyed Romulan Star Empire. I think that after the Klingons seize the majority of Romulan-controlled space, I think that now, since the Empire also has doubled in size, they're going to once again push that the Federation homeworld be located on Kronos. I don't believe that anyone's going to argue with them. At this particular point in time, the Romulan Star Empire has been destroyed. The Starfleet Armada, the Federation kind of armada separate from KDF, isn't as strong as it was before. They're still probably attempting to rebuild and try to regather their forces and figure out what happened, because again, maybe they just fought huge conflicts between the Romulans and the Klingons, and they've lost a lot of their shipyards, so they weren't able to replenish their forces as fast as the Klingons were. So because they're diminished numbers, I do think that the Federation Council will simply agree to the Klingons' demands, move the capital of the Federation to Kronos. And that's because of, number one, their military power, and I also think that the Klingons will most likely work with the Ferengi Alliance to try to financially back them. I think that's also potentially why the Klingons were able to bounce back in terms of military power, because they probably had finance backing from the Ferengi Alliance, because the Ferengi know that if the Klingons are in charge, they'll probably be able to continue to expand their criminal empire much better and more faster and more efficiently than, say, another planet like on Valeris 9. So the Federation Council agrees, the capitals move to Kronos, and this, of course, eventually leads to the complete disbandment of the Federation Council, the complete disbandment of the Federation Charter, and the establishment of the newly christened massive Klingon Empire. And I think that this new emperor, this new Klingon emperor, will have a huge KDF armada, along with a massive amounts of finance backing from the Ferengi Alliance. I think that the KDF and the Ferengi are going to work together in order to essentially topple over the quote-unquote good guys, so that they can expand their concept of honor and also their thievery underground mentalities. So anyways, guys and gals, that's my thoughts on what's going to happen if Earth was destroyed in the Star Trek universe. Like I said, I do believe that because of the loss of Earth, the Federation will limp on, essentially, but eventually get disbanded and taken over, either by the weakened Romulans, or in this case, in my mind, a much stronger Klingon defense force. But I am curious to hear what all of you guys and gals think about this theory. I'm curious to hear about what you think would happen if Earth was destroyed inside the Star Trek universe. Do you think it would turn out as badly, or do you think that the transition would be much more seamless and that no one would really notice the fact, unfortunately, that Earth was destroyed and that the Federation would simply move on and maybe even get better? I'm really curious to hear what you guys and gals think about it. Please throw a like and a subscribe up on YouTube. Please follow me on Twitter at RealKetwolski. And please follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/RealKetwolski. And I will see all of you guys next time. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies.